As we told you was going to happen, as was entirely foreseeable, Jonathan Taylor named the AFC Offensive Player of the Month for the month of October. He was stupendous in the month of October. There was no way he was not going to win the award. The first time he or any other Colt has won that award since November of 2021. We're going to talk a little bit about what should happen at the trade deadline. You know, as you start thinking about areas of need for the Indianapolis Colts, you think about backup quarterback a little bit. We talk about the edge all the time, and we talk about cornerbacks all the time. You're going to get word back at some point, right? Assuming he recovers from that concussion. Saw him at the facility yesterday, so hopefully that means he's on track. He's not sitting in a dark room, not moving around because he's got this severe concussion. That's got to be good, right? So, at edge, you got some guys who are getting to the quarterback. Tyquan Lewis has gotten there, Kwity Paye a couple of times. Latu has gotten there. You don't have like that bell cow guy like Hendrickson who got to the opposing quarterbacks for Lou Anarumo's defense last year with the Bengals 17 and a half times. But you got guys who can get there on the regular. And so maybe that's something that you think about, but you're going to have to pay through the nose for that. That's good. Like Myles Garrett would be multiple ones. There is no way Chris Ballard does that. However, can you go out and get a backup quarterback who's going to be a little bit better than Riley Leonard or Brett Rippon? Can you go get somebody like that on the cheap for a seventh rounder? Or, you trade Rippon and a fifth for a sixth, something like that. I say that's on the cheap. I don't think that Chris Ballard would say it's on the cheap. Do you want to do that? We'll talk about that a little bit. Injured players back at practice today. Tyquan Lewis, Nick Cross, Matt Goncalves back from grieving for his father who passed on. I'm sure the grieving still continues. Josh Downs also back at practice today. I did not see Kenny Moore. We're going to talk about the Irsays. They're selling the Jim Irsay collection, or at least a significant portion of the Jim Irsay collection. It's a lot to maintain. There's a lot of stuff. If you've ever seen this collection in its entirety, it is mind-numbing, right? There is so much stuff, so much great stuff, so much unique stuff, one-of-a-kind stuff, unicorn stuff, that if you were in possession of it, you might want to sell it too. It's a lot to maintain. Matt Rule signed an extension to stay at Nebraska. Nothing like an opening like Penn State created by firing James Franklin to get current coaches and their agents busy with ADs crafting extensions. Matt Rule is now going to be or theoretically, at least he's under contract with Nebraska through 2032. And the Pacers, they're embarking on a homestand beginning tomorrow night against the Atlanta Hawks. It's a 3-game homestand, and it's not an easy one. This is Inside Indiana Sports Now for Thursday, October 30th, 2025, brought to you by the great people at YouTube TV. You can manage the guide, order the stations in any way you want. I've got like the locals at the top, then I've got sports, then I've got movie channels, and then I've got some junk below, stuff the wife likes to watch. HGTV and the cooking channel and stuff like that. Smithsonian Channel, because Julie loves nothing more than watching shows about plane disasters and what caused them. I don't understand it. I don't question it. This is how we've been married as long as we have. But YouTube TV allows you to do whatever you want with the guide. And YouTube TV, it's reasonably priced. And if you use the link that will be in the show description, as soon as I finish this, I'll put that in. You get $15 off your first month. How about that? Good deal. And it's got the best picture and sound of any service that I've used. It just looks better. It looks crisper. If you got nice TV, you don't want DirecTV, because DirecTV is not going to give you the picture that, from my experience, that YouTube TV will. Use the link, sign up today. How about that? Make sure and become a member. When you become a member, you got a chance you'll get an autograph book from me. There you go. You also you get to take part in the all-member roundup on Saturday mornings, the hobnob that we have. It's kind of a question and answer thing. It's very loose. There are no notes. It's just you and me talking. That's what it is, and it's every Saturday morning. We usually do it right around 9 o'clock. Become a subscriber. Look at what we have here. That is a Colts autographed jersey. This is a Colts autographed jersey. This is a Colts autographed jersey. This is a Colts autographed jersey. And this is a Colts autographed jersey. You can see the last one's Jeff Saturday. 5 of them. We're going to be giving those away over the course of the next 5 Mondays. You've got to be a subscriber to be eligible to win. In order to enter to win, you need to use the phrase that pays in a comment. The phrase that pays right now, because, hey, the Indianapolis Colts and Indiana Hoosiers are doing, and Purdue basketball still ranked number 1, I would assume. That exhibition against Kentucky doesn't really count on anybody's record. It shouldn't count in the rankings. Indiana rules. Notre Dame probably going to the college football playoff. Indiana almost definitely going to the college football playoff. Colts are about a coin flip favorite to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. These are high times, people. Indiana rules. Da 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 da. IU, let's go. IU, Maryland coming up on Saturday. All right, smash the like button. And if you want to make a comment or if you want to make a donation, make a donation. But please include a comment or a question that elevate the level of discourse on the station. All right, Jonathan Taylor, yo, yo, yo. He has been named October's AFC Offensive Player of the Month. 66 carries for 436 yards, 9 touchdowns. Taylor is the 5th player since the year 2000 with 3 TD games in a season. And he's not halfway through. I don't think he's going to wind up with 8 3 TD seasons. That would be stupendous. That would be a lot. But I think he's going to wind up with more than he's got. He's got to get another 3. Maybe not against the Steelers, but he's going to get another 3, I think. The Colts and the Steelers coming up this Sunday. Steelers, not a bad run defense, but really not good against the deep ball. And so I would expect this to be a little bit more freewheeling from Daniel Jones. We'll see. What they do is they try to get after your ass. They blitz 35% of the time, the Steelers do. They want to knock that quarterback sideways. So that brings us to what we're going to talk about in a little bit, and that's, man, you kind of need a backup quarterback right now, do you not? Hendrickson, Bosa, Watt, Crosby. We don't have a DE that's at this elite level. No, and those are the 4 guys, right? Hard to find guys like that. I mean, they don't come cheap. So you want to make a deal. This is the kind of deal that Chris Ballard has never made. He's made one deadline deal, and that was Nyheim Hines for Zach Moss, and that was at the request of Nyheim Hines. He made that deal. Steelers are going to honor the 2005 Super Bowl champion team that won that game because Nick Harper got stabbed in the thigh the night before that game, and so he wasn't quite as fast as he would have liked to have been as he recovered a fumble. Gary Brackett forced a fumble, Jerome Bettis, near the goal line. As the Steelers were going in to score what would have been a game salting away touchdown, Harper picks it up, trucks for about 35 yards. Ben Roethlisberger on his back grabs the shoe, basically, of Nick Harper, brings him to the ground. The Colts still had a chance to get that thing moving. They did move a little bit, and then Mike Vanderjagt missed a 46-yard game-tying field goal with just a little bit, 21 seconds left in that game. That was heartbreaking. That 2005 team was better than the 07 team. It was better than the 05 team. You talk to people from that team, from that Colts team, and they will tell you that that was the best team they had. You had Edge, you had Manning, you had Wayne, you had Harrison, you had Clark, you had a terrific offensive line, you had a really good defense with Cato June. And man, Gary Brackett, obviously, you had Robert Mathis on that team. He didn't play. He didn't start that year, oddly. Dwight Freeney, you had Bob Sanders, you had Mike Doss. That was before Antoine Bethea, I think. You had guys on that team. That was a really good football team. And they didn't win because Nick Harper got stabbed the night before the game, the divisional round game, and because Mike Vanderjagt couldn't make a 46-yard field goal to tie that game. Moments that those two guys are never going to live down. Here we go. Sports says Shane Steichen and Kurt Cignetti office is almost exactly the same. Your opinion? Man, I'll tell you, I think they likely are. I don't think there's a lot of adornment. There's some kind of thing in those offices that maybe a wife put in there to try to remind these guys that they're human beings rather than coach bots. You know what I mean? Who just coach 24/7. I think there's probably that. And there's a bunch, there's stacks of stuff, that they've got to go through and figure out, whether it's scouting reports, whatever it is. I don't think it's all computerized. Maybe more so, less papers for Steichen, who's of a different generation than Cignetti, probably likes to do a lot of things the old-fashioned way. He's got the old-fashioned recliner. He watches tape the old-fashioned way. So, yeah, but I think that you walk into either of those rooms and you know that that's a football coach's office. That's an interesting question. Thank you for sharing that. Interesting. Do you think the secondary could use a little more help than the D-line? Here's the thing. If you help the secondary, you help the D-line get to the quarterback because they're going to cover guys longer. If you help the D-line, they're going to put more pressure on the quarterback so those cornerbacks don't have to stay in coverage quite as long. It's very collaborative. It's very cooperative. Definitively, Zach says, assuming no trades, how do you feel about the Colts matching up against the Chiefs? I like it. The Colts have beaten the Chiefs when they weren't as good as they are right now. I don't know whether that's going to mean anything on November 23rd or 24th because this game could get flexed to Monday night, and it wouldn't surprise me if it did. But I think the Colts can win that game. I don't think there's anybody the Colts can't score with. Is there, like, if you get, let's say you get 10 possessions in a game, is there somebody who's going to score 8 times? Maybe. But the Colts, I think you can count on them scoring 6 or 7 at least. And that's a productive offense. And that does not accommodate for injury. All right. As they stand right now, Toby says the issue is at this point in the season, and where the Colts are 7-1, any trades or free agent signings will cost more than Ballard wants to pay. And they're only like $6 million under the cap. So you're going to have to restructure contracts. If you bring over Hendrickson's on a 1-year, $31 million deal. That's expensive. That's about $16 million for the rest of the season. They've got 6 under the cap. That means you got to go find 10. That isn't always easy. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to be an interesting week. I'd love to tell you I think it's going to be an interesting week. I would be shocked if they made any kind of a deal at all. But the one kind of a deal that they might make is for a backup quarterback, because if Daniel Jones goes down, you got Riley Leonard. And that doesn't fill you with confidence. He is a terrific competitor. Really, really smart, energetic guy. But is he ready to step in and lead that team to win at the level that somebody else would, somebody like Russell Wilson, who's sitting the bench because, Dart is not going to give up that starting job. Brian Daboll's going to stick with Dart. So could they go get a Russell Wilson to come in and be a competent kind of a game-to-game fill-in guy, and that way you don't need Brett Rippon? I don't know. We'll see. Who would I want as a backup? Hell, I want Anthony Richardson as a backup. I want that orbital bone to heal sufficiently that he can come play football. That's who I want. Just like raising the minimum wage or mandating insurance costs for employers to employees, those costs have to go somewhere, to the consumer or cut the workforce. That's exactly right. Although you do have a cap, right? You got that cap, so you can only spend so much before it comes out of the workforce. But that's exactly right. A couple of injured players back at practice today. Josh Downs, Nick Cross, Tyquan Lewis, Matt Goncalves back from his period of mourning for his dad, which will continue. I did not see Kenny Moore today. I did see Samson Ebicom. He did not practice. The Ursays are selling a large portion of the Ursay collection via Christie's auction house. Some mementos will be kept by the family, those that are meaningful to the three daughters. But many are going to be available to the highest bidders. Truly an impressive bunch of unique musical, cultural, and political icons. Jim Irsay said that he was offered better than $1 billion for the collection. I don't know, but I'm telling you, if you've ever seen it, it's a museum unto itself. Unbelievable. Toby saw that Stewart did not practice, and to others was this just rest for veteran players. It was rest yesterday for Braden Smith. I don't know. Like Grover, I think, is going to play. Grover's had the toe. Kenny has had his deal, the Achilles deal. I don't think he aggravated it on Sunday. I sure hope he didn't. We'll see if he's up tomorrow. And I don't know who the third was who didn't practice. Matt Rule signs an extension to stay at Nebraska. I'm just sad for people in Indy who haven't had a chance to see that collection in its entirety, because it is straight awesome. The number of one-of-a-kind mementos from music, from politics, government, culture, just awesome, crazy. Matt Rule signed the extension to stay at Nebraska through 2032. What's that mean? 4 years ago, they signed Brian Kelly to a $100 million contract to coach at LSU. How long did that go? How long is it going to be before people in Nebraska are like, you know what? All right, 8-4, 9-3 aren't going to get it. Indiana's running the table. What are we doing about Indiana? We need to be at least what Indiana is. I understand getting our asses kicked by Ohio State, but Indiana? That's going to cost people jobs if it hasn't already. Pacers, tomorrow night against the 2-3 Hawks. You better win that one, fellas, because the next two are against the Warriors, who are 4-1, Steph. And then Monday against Giannis and that other guy as the Bucks visit. Toby says Gould. Yeah, Gould's going to be longer term, I think, like a week-to-week thing. So how do we talk them into displaying the collection before it's sold off for parts? I think that's going to be tough because that's money. It's a significant expense to move all those things, display them all, and get security for them all. That's quite an undertaking. Definitively, Zach, did you see Miles Turner talking crap about Hallie on a podcast, calling him a tough fake or a fake tough guy? I don't care what Miles Turner has to say. Miles Turner is the fakest non-tough guy. He's a fake soft guy, for God's sake. Who's he to open his yip-yap about any damn thing, for God's sake? I wish he'd just keep his mouth shut, averages 8 points a game, and go on with his day. Great news, Jalen Jack. Yeah, he was practice yesterday. He was full at practice yesterday. Jalen was full today. Yes. I would love to be at that auction just as a viewer. And you can go online. You can bid. Hell, Toby, you're flush. Mark says Ballard's too scared to make a move. In fact, he was afraid to draft a quarterback in the first round. It's not fear. What he's motivated by is a desire to hold on to draft picks, because those are guys you get on the cheap for a first-round draft pick. You get on the cheap for 4 years, and you have control for a fifth year at a higher price. That's a significant asset. You trade a first, or you miss with a first-round pick. Wow. The one trade he did make, he traded one for DeForest Buckner. That was a hell of a trade, because you knew what you were getting in DeForest Buckner. You weren't taking a shot. The Tyler Warren pick, easy. That was obvious. Kwity Paye, Leatu, not as obvious. Back half of the second round, trail of tears for Chris Ballard and the Indianapolis Colts. We will talk to you tomorrow. Breakfast with Kent, bright and early. And wow, what a day it's going to be tomorrow. We are on the precipice of a huge sports weekend, for God's sake. Turner is a fraud. He needs to go play with his Legos. Yeah. He's always been a fraud. You know what? He's not always been a fraud. He's just been a guy who valued other stuff more. Like when he first was drafted out of Texas, first round, 11th overall pick, they brought him to the Pacers golf outing. So hosting a radio show in town, I went and I talked to him, interviewed him. I said, what's your goal? Fully thinking that he's going to say something like, I want to win multiple championships as an Indiana Pacer and bring a championship to this city. What'd he say? I want to make enough money to be the CEO of my own company. That's not a fraud, but it's not a center that you want on your team. You don't want that guy going into the pivot and having to post up, monsters. That's Miles Turner. That's who he's always been. Tried to tell you he was something else. And I tried to tell you, he tried to tell us he was something else. I tried to tell you exactly who he was. People got mad at me. Oh, Miles is great. Miles is an all-star. Never been an all-star. Not a defensive player of the year level talent or human being. Come on. Toby says the interesting answer is how many first-rounders has Ballard actually had? Well, he's taken a bunch. I mean, Malik Hooker, right? Quentin Nelson. Then in 19, they traded out of the first round and took Rocky Sin, right? Early in the second. Then they took Michael Pittman early in the second. They traded up to get Jonathan Taylor in the second in 20. In 21, that was the pick that went to the 49ers in exchange, I could be getting this screwed up, for DeForest Buckner. 22 was Quiddy, 23 was Anthony, 24 was Latu, and 25 was Tyler Warren. Best we saved for last, right? Mm-hmm.